Welcome to Synthaholics. This is your host, David Duncan, and with me is...
Brian. Hello, David.
Hey,
Hello.
hey, Brian. How's it going?
Hello. Hello. I'm not loud.
Yeah.
How you doing, David? You hanging in there, man?
I'm hanging on by a thread.
Hanging on by a thread. Is it because of what we're going to talk about today?
Probably.
Maybe a little bit. It's a contributing factor.
It's
in
definitely...
the side effects. You know when you watch those medicine commercials, and at the end they always have like a guy talking really fast. This is one of the side effects. There's like, if you watch Rings of Power, side effects may happen. If you watch Rings of Power,
and
talk fast.
She's looking at me. It's scary.
She's gonna look at you the whole time.
Even
after. Yeah, we're gonna leave this behind you. We're gonna print out a giant poster, and this isn't even gonna be a green screen next time, or not a green screen, whatever the heck this is new technology's called. We're just gonna print out a giant poster and just put it behind you at all times. So every time you're on camera, boom, Galadriel.
Can it be
Not only will you scare yourself, you will scare everybody around you.
Can it be Kate Blanchett's Galadriel? I like her better.
No, sorry. She's out of date. She's done.
Oh,
she's
no.
done for. She's 20 years ago, man. We don't talk about her anymore.
Well, she'll be Kate Blanchett the Siren in Borderlands if that ever comes out. It's been
wow, that was. I can't believe you made that like quick connection. Where you... I didn't know where you were going with that. You went from Rings of Power to Lord of the Rings to Borderlands. Where's that? Where's that at?
Where is that at? Like they showed us like silhouettes of the characters. Anything. They showed silhouettes of the characters like 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's nothing, dude. They're never coming. That movie's gonna suck in the first. You honestly think that's gonna be a good movie? Like for real? Like honestly speaking, you really think that's gonna be a good movie?
I don't think it's gonna be a good movie, but it's a movie I will watch because I liked Borderlands 1.
Oh yeah, no, I'm going. Yeah, and then we'll complain about it because that's like the circle of life for us. Is like go watch something, complain about it, and then decide if we podcast on it or not, and then repeat the cycle. That's it. That's our life cycle right there.
Cycle. I mean, like we can hope things are gonna be good. But before we get to the ye old meat and potatoes, or the meat and
potatoes,
and giving it to me raw.
Whoa, that's aggressive.
That's what Durin said.
That's aggressive.
Yeah, that's what dwarves do. They're aggressive. They want raw meat, apparently. Which is kind of strange because I thought they cooked things a lot. But anyway, so news: Henry Cavill has been ousted from The Witcher. Although I haven't read all the details specifically, but I'm assuming he does not want to be in The Witcher anymore because an article came out from the people working on the new X-Men 1984, like the sequel to the old X or the 1994 X-Men that they're doing, that apparently he had worked on The Witcher season. This writer had worked on it, and apparently other writers like basically shat on the work of The Witcher video games from CD Projekt Red and the original author's stuff. So people in the writing staff had like little to no care about like the source material, and Henry Cavill's huge on Witcher lore, like absolutely big. He eats, breathes, and sleeps The Witcher. He's played them like the 2 and 3 like several times through. He's bragged and talked about this. The fact that they're deviating from the lore, I can see him stepping away from it based on that. And then also, of course, at the end of Black Adam, he had his cameo as Superman, and he is returning as Superman to the DCEU. So that's great news. I mean, it's great getting him a Superman. It's sad seeing him go as The Witcher, but if the writers aren't respectful to the source material, I can totally see him stepping away on his own volition.
Yeah, so there was a lot of talk. I don't know, not a lot of talk, but like in our circle of life, our community, we see this Henry Cavill guy keep popping up places, and the writers were saying that he's difficult to work with, and they had a problem with him. Now that we know that the writers and showrunners don't like and didn't want to follow the books or the movies, it makes so much more sense why they had a hard time working with Henry Cavill, because he's like, why are we making the Witcher show if you're not going to follow the books or the video games or any of the other content for Witcher that's official? And the writers are like, we don't like it. It's like, oh, well, there you go. There's obviously going to be a problem there.
Oh yeah, Henry Cavill. Like, I mean, season 3 is not out yet. I mean, I'm scared of seeing season 3 now, considering...
Well, no, he's still in it.
I understand, but like he dealt with the changes in seasons 1 and 2. Season 3 must be even more a deviation because this is, he's quit after season 3. I mean, it may just be because of Superman.
I think it's because of Superman.
I think
how much money are they probably giving him for Superman?
I don't know. I mean, it seems like, just from things I've been reading, it seems like most people didn't want him back as Superman. Like the people in charge, like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Who does? Oh yeah, because he was having creative differences with them too. Man, this guy, he might be a problem because he wants to like actually make something good.
Yeah, Henry Cavill wants to make something good.
What? Or maybe not even good. He just wants to follow like the structure of the comics that Superman already has.
Yeah, like
I don't know. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know if he knows anything about the Superman comics. Oh no, I don't know that.
Oh, he absolutely does.
He does.
I saw
okay.
I saw an
interview.
Know. He's like, oh, I want to return to where Superman's happy, optimistic, and how Superman's supposed to be. Like,
yeah. Well, he's been dark. He's been like a dark and gritty kind of, not super dark or gritty, but like he's more on the darker tone.
More dark. Yeah. With Zack Snyder involved, so he wants Superman's tone to return to what it should be, like Christopher Reeve Superman. This is what Henry Cavill wants. Henry Cavill wants what fans want, because Henry Cavill himself is a fan. So like, yes. He must be hard to work with because he's one of the few actors that actually seems to know and care about the source material.
Yeah, I just wish I could see those, because right now we're like both Henry Cavill fanboying right now, but like I'd like to see those background conversations to really gauge like what is he doing, like why is he hard to work with exactly. I want to see those conversations just to make sure I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket with protecting Cavill.
Maybe Henry Cavill's a jerk.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
From what I've seen, from what I think we both have seen from interviews and articles and all that stuff, he doesn't seem like he's a bad guy. He seems like he's just very passionate about the things he works on.
Yes.
That's what I get.
And that's a good thing. I think being passionate and knowledgeable about the things you're working on is super important to doing a good job at them. And he is an amazing Geralt of Rivia. He is amazing. I don't know if I'm going to watch The Witcher once he's gone. Like I think that's what a lot of people are asking themselves. Like,
I
don't know. Like he is the best part of the show. Like his just
he is Geralt. He is Geralt.
He is. He just, his exasperation. He doesn't even speak a lot in the show, and it's just absolutely brilliant how he's just
anytime they're not showing him, we want to see him.
Yeah, and then he doesn't even when he's on screen, he doesn't even say a lot. It's just lots of grunts and just like sarcasm. He just drips with sarcasm because that's Geralt, and that's amazing. I love him. And he must be difficult to work with in this day and age, considering most writers, directors want to make garbage. And Henry Cavill wants to make something.
Like this is happening time and time again, where showrunners or writers or producers are like, we don't want to follow the source material. It's happened with the Halo show. Boom. Don't want to. They're like, they actively told everybody. They're like, we're not following it. We don't care about the video games. It's like, okay, cool. You just made sure 98% of the people that are gonna watch it won't watch it now. Wheel of Time, same thing. Why are they picking up these like big like IPs, and then they're like, why this show's popular, or why this video game's popular, we're not gonna follow it. We're gonna do our own thing. It's like, why? What do you like? Why buy this giant IP that was built on this story, and fans love that story, and then you take it and you're like, we're doing something different. I don't get it. I don't. Who thinks that's a good idea? That's not a good idea. Don't do it. Stop it. Stop it, please. Please stop it.
Please stop it. And the thing is, like you brought up earlier, it's like we're gonna watch it, something, and they complain. But it's like, it's not our fault. Like if they made it for the fans instead of for themselves, maybe.
Yeah. I mean,
things would be less terrible. I'm not saying that's necessarily the only thing that'll make it better. You still have to have it, quality writers, and then things work out. Like you can try to tell the story right, and the writing still be terrible. Like there's the thing. Like writing bad isn't just the story's not good and like the characters aren't good. It's like there's more to it. Like if you're in the right direction, but the dialogue is still bad, it's just like if you're telling the right story but with the worst but with bad dialogue, it's still bad, even if you're telling the wrong story with also bad dialogue.
Yeah.
So
I don't know, man. It's tough. It's tough to be a gamer and a video game adaptation fan these days.
Or just anything adaptation fan these days.
Yeah, a fan of anything that's entertainment.
A fan of anything that's been around for more than 20 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because I'm generally like a glass not half full, a glass full type of person where I only want to talk about the good stuff. I don't want to put out that negative energy, but like everything sucks.
Well,
Most things aren't good.
I was reading an article this morning, and I just thought of this as my other news that I couldn't think of before the show started. That WB wants to put the Fantastic Beasts movies on hold and make more Harry Potter movies.
Are you serious?
What does that mean? What does that mean? Are we gonna do like in between years of like Harry Potter, like in between, like just
That's impossible. They can't do that now. That's impossible. It's literally impossible unless they recast.
Like, are they gonna do Harry Potter summers, like what he did locked in the cupboard under the stairs for like it's the whole movie? Just
No, dude, don't finish that because I feel like I could see that happening. That's definitely something they could make like a short series, put it on Netflix. It's like 4 episodes. Each one is like 20 minutes. Yeah, I can see that happening where it's like the daily life of Harry Potter living under the cupboard.
He twiddles his thumbs.
Oh man,
he plays tic-tac-toe on the wall.
oh man, don't put that out in the universe. Take that back. Put
not-
that in the black hole. Put that back in the black hole.
I did not put that into the universe. This is WB saying we want to put Fantastic Beasts on hold because it's a hot train wreck, and we want more Harry Potter movies. What does that mean? Like Daniel Radcliffe, from everything I've heard, does not want to reprise the role.
No, he don't. None of them do. They're done. They spent like their whole childhood playing in these movies, and now they're all like extremely wealthy. They're not like normal wealthy for like being famous. They're all super wealthy. They're like that one. What's that one? Ron Weasley, Rupert Grint or Grint or something is his name that he played. He's like, you would think like we haven't seen him. We haven't seen anything about this guy. Doesn't really do movies. Doesn't do anything. It's because he's like pretty much a billionaire from being in Harry Potter. They're extremely wealthy people.
Yeah, they don't want to do these anymore. I don't
Plus,
know.
they're older now. Like, I don't want to. Like, what am I gonna go see? Ron Weasley pretend to be a fortune? Actually, that kind of would probably be pretty funny because I don't know how old he is now, but he's got to be at least my age or older. So, he would pretend to be like a 14-year-old when he's like in his 30s.
Or they'll just do like adult, Ron, Hermione, and Harry as adults doing.
No, they're not doing that. That's
adult wizard things. I don't know. I don't know.
What does an adult wizard do? All that. One thing that bothered me. We're getting totally sidetracked here, but all Harry Potter people that seem to be like magical in that universe either work for the government or a school. There is no other magic jobs. It's like there's 2 places to work. You either work in the government or you work at a school.
Well, I guess you could work at Azkaban. You could be a prison guard.
Yeah, man, that's
definitely
a top tier job. That's
still,
what everybody wants to do.
I guess it's still technically.
No, they have the Dementors for that.
That's still technically government, though. You gotta have some humans, magicians there.
Okay, that's fair. It's mostly guarded by Dementors, though. Anyway,
maybe
that's Harry
Potter.
Potter. Okay, let's not like totally side rail here. I could literally talk about Harry Potter for hours. I love Harry Potter.
Okay.
Even though I can complain about that too.
I don't know.
Do you have any?
Go ahead.
Oh God,
Go ahead.
Oh man, if we're gonna bring up Harry Potter, man, you gotta warn me. Don't.
I just
Normally when we do these news segments, we just like, how many newses do you got? And you're like, I got 2. And then how many you got? I got 5. And then we're like, okay.
Well, no, it just came to me because I remember reading this morning that WB is like, we want more Harry Potter films. Put those Fantastic Beasts things on hold.
It's already like the Harry Potter world is already getting diluted enough where it's like starting to like turn into like a bad direction. So like chill out with the Harry Potter stuff. It's cool. And it's gonna die in probably 20 years because it was like a millennial thing. So like just let it do its thing and then remake it in 25 years and call it a day. J.K. Rowling, you're already a billionaire and you kind of don't really write good anymore. Anyway,
okay. What's your news, Brian?
Well, one of them is we should have brought this up on our last podcast. I don't know how we forgot. Well, I know why I forgot because I only had like 3 hours of sleep and I just got home. But the James Gunn is Kevin Feige now
He
for
is Kevin.
DC.
That's
We
great.
didn't bring that up. We should have brought that up because that's pretty big news for the stuff we talk about. So
Absolutely.
James Gunn, I think we've both expressed that we enjoy his work, some more than others. But yeah,
I mean,
he's gonna start
Peacemaker was
getting-
top tier. Peacemaker was absolutely top tier. So like more stuff like Peacemaker.
Yeah,
Please.
I mean, most of his stuff. If you rank all Marvel DC movies, I would say all his stuff is going to be pretty much towards the top, right?
Yeah, Guardians
I
of the
mean,
Galaxy.
Guardians of the
1 and 2,
Galaxy is
really good.
solid. Suicide Squad. I mean, I
We
know
gave
you
it, like,
you didn't
middling
like it
reviews.
as much, but like when it compares to like your average, your just normal Marvel movie, like I feel like Suicide Squad is better than just a normal Marvel movie.
Probably. It just
I liked it though, so I didn't have a problem.
Well, the thing is with Suicide Squad, like I said in the podcast, like the movie has lots of great set pieces, but for whatever reason, it didn't feel like a good movie. Like
Yeah, I know.
it had so many good scenes, but it didn't feel like a movie. I don't know. It just felt like a bunch of really great YouTube clips or something put together, and it just didn't feel like a
YouTube
movie.
clip compilation.
Yeah, it was just I don't know. It was weird. You know what I mean? Like it felt like a compilation of a bunch of great things put together, but it didn't come out as a great whole. I don't know. That's just the way I felt about it. It was weird to me. But I mean, it was on par with the original Suicide Squad. It was pretty good. It was not terrible because I don't think the original Suicide Squad was as bad as everyone said it was.
Well, either way, this is a good move for DC. It definitely gives me a lot more happiness and joy in my little heart that James Gunn is going to be, forerunning the DC universe moving forward, which is kind of cool because he is
DC
extremely talented, even though he can be controversial. Blah, blah, blah.
DC needs a cohesive vision because Marvel doesn't have one anymore. Kevin Feige.
Whoa, that shot's fired right there, man.
I mean, Kevin Feige hasn't done anything. It feels like he's done absolutely nothing because Kevin Feige, it felt like he did quality control. He made all the stories work together for phases 1, 2, and 3, and then phase 4, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go hibernate for like
Okay,
2 or 3 years.
You're gonna start a problem. People are going to start telling us that that you're being a problem towards Marvel because everything Marvel is good, man. Everything's solid, man. It's just a weak phase. It's like don't. Okay, we need to stop. We're gonna get in trouble. We're gonna get yelled at.
It is a weak phase because Kevin Feige's been hibernating the entire phase 4.
Don't tell that to a Marvel fan. They're gonna snap back at you and they're gonna tell you why it's good and what they're planning to do in the future is gonna be even better. And then you know what? You know what we'll do if it turns out to be good again? We will also say, hey, that was pretty good. But right now, it's not.
That's true. That is absolutely true.
That's how we run things around here.
Mhm.
So, the last piece of news I think we both got is God of War, something that we both like. It's good.
Yeah.
We both like God of War.
And by the time we podcast next, by the time this is out on YouTube, we will probably have played several hours of it. By the next time we podcast, we can talk about our limited experience so far, because I doubt we'll have beaten it. It's supposed to be much
neither one
longer.
of us. Well, neither one of us can just drop anything and just drop everything and play 40 hours of God of War. Neither one of us can do that, so it's probably
No.
going to take us a little bit to
Get through it.
beat the game, but I guess we can see where we're at and we can give our thoughts. But at least according to the early review embargo, first of all, cool to Santa Monica Studios that they're confident in their game to just release the embargo a week before the game comes out. I remember when CD Projekt Red, for their embargo, when Cyberpunk came out, they were like, you can only use the footage we provide you
Yeah.
in your review. And for this embargo, they were just like, yeah, do whatever you want, you're done. So it shows that they are confident in their product, which is awesome because it gives me confidence that it's going to be good.
Because I think around Fallout 4, Bethesda also put they had a review embargo until the day things come out. Like they didn't want early reviews anymore. It's like
That means you're not confident in what you're making.
yeah, that feels really shady. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
They are confident.
It's nice that a company be confident and they know what they're making and they're putting out something good in quality. And I waited many years to play God of War 2018. I just beat it earlier this summer, and I have to say that game is probably a masterpiece. I don't give out 10s a lot. God of War is a 10.
Yeah.
And and funny enough, I've played 2 10 video games this year. We also beat Divinity. I'd also give that a 10. 10 out of 10.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, but that's older. That's old. Well, I guess actually no, they're both from like the same year when released. Well, PC God of War. I don't know.
But
Whatever you want to consider that.
But I beat them both this year. They are masterpiece video games. Absolute masterpieces.
And we played both of them this. Well, you played both of them this year. I only played one.
Yeah, but I mean, I beat them both this year, so that's why I'm just.
So you're eating good this year, man. You got 2 10s under your belt for 2022.
2 10s under my belt, and God of War Ragnarok's out, so I mean that could be 3.
Wow. I don't know. I don't know. You think you're gonna beat it this year?
Oh, probably not.
I might not even. Oh, maybe actually we got time. We still got like well over a month when it comes out. Never mind. Well, we probably will beat it. We got like 2 months
before the end of the year. It's a race. Speaking of things that are not speaking of masterpieces, we shall transition to something that is absolutely not a masterpiece.
Meat and potatoes.
The meat and potatoes. Brian.
David, I want you to review first because we've briefly talked about this, like through text messages. I'll be like, "Hey, I finished episode 6," because I was well behind you the entire time until this. I watched like 4 episodes this week of it because I just been behind on it. I don't know, quite 4, but you know, I would message you every once in a while, I'll be like, "Hey, this is done," and then you like say like the lowest positive thing that I could think of. So. You need to review it first because we're gonna be different here. I guarantee you we're gonna be different. I have a reason for it.
All right, so my score for Amazon's $1 billion
of Power Season 1
Lord of the Rings Rings of Power Season 1 is a whopping 2 out of 10.
Oh, man.
The only reason it gets that is because the first couple episodes have pretty good special effects. It kind of falls off after that. So, I'm not a Tolkien scholar. I don't know the Silmarillion backwards and forwards. I basically went into Rings of Power having only seen Peter Jackson's trilogy, the extended edition trilogy, and The Hobbit. I have read the original books by J.R.R. Tolkien, at least the original trilogy, and The Hobbit, many, many years ago. So it's well out of my mind. From the little I know, just from the source material, I know almost nothing about the Second Age. And from the very beginning, this show is like nothing Tolkienian about it. Absolute character assassinations of every single character in the show, from Galadriel first and foremost, Gil-galad, they play him out to be a bad guy, like Elrond, like no one is the character they're supposed to be in the slightest. From the little I understood about the lore. Since the show has come out, I've delved hours and hours and hours and hours into Tolkienian lore, trying to understand what really is supposed to be happening. And my gut reaction to the show without knowing the lore, like I said, is a 2. It was probably been like a 4 or 5. But now, since I've immersed myself in all the lore, everything I learn is just knocking the show down more and more pegs. And theoretically, since the next season will also have that $1 billion price tag, because they funded a bunch of the seasons.
Is it just going to be yearly? Do we know if it's going to be? Because we know we're getting multiple seasons of this.
It's 2 years before the next season, I believe.
Okay, so we'll get in 2024, 2025.
They have announced they're already starting to shoot the next season. They said they wrote the script.
They haven't even shot it.
They started shooting it.
I know, but before this show even came out, they announced they're like, yeah, we're doing 5 seasons. We know to the ending shot what it's going to be. I thought they had more than just this.
Well, the thing is, the season has been getting lots of negative reviews for good reason, and the writers have come out and said that they're probably not going to change a lot because they'd already finished writing the scripts before season 1 aired.
For the whole thing. Yeah, before season 1 even aired, they finished like the whole kit and caboodle. I
mean, I hope Amazon steps in and slaps the writers and makes them change stuff, because it's not going in a good space. Like the show wasn't gonna get a good review even without my knowledge of the lore. With my knowledge of the lore now that I've been researching, it's just like, what the hell did they even do with this? Brian.
All right, man. So, we always rate our shows, and before I was thinking about this week, a couple like I would say I put a little bit of effort into trying to come up with a score here, but I thought you were gonna give it a 2 or 3. I was pretty sure you were gonna give it a 2 or 3. That's where I was at, and I knew that's not what I was gonna give it. So my score, I'm gonna give it a 6.5, 6.5 to 7. So, hear me out here. I was gonna give it like a 7.5, but then I rewatched the trailer just to like ground myself, and then I remembered what I watched, and I had to knock it down a point. Anyway, here's my reasoning. Here's my reasoning here. So I have a different. I might have a corrupted mind.
Wait. You knocked down Cyberpunk Edge Runners like a 1.5 or 2 points just because it was science fiction and not fantasy.
No,
You're giving you're giving Rings of Power extra points just because it's fantasy and not science fiction.
It's sure. Yes, I do prefer. I still stand by it that I prefer it, but there's more reasons why I knocked down Cyberpunk. That wasn't just science fiction. There's animation problems. I had a little bit of problems with the story too. But here's why I think I'm corrupted a little bit here. Before I went to Comic-Con before, that's why I wasn't at a podcast, and then I went to Europe. When I was at Comic-Con, you get that energy, the like nerd energy you get going on. You're walking around there, you're seeing banners for Rings of Power and all that. You can stop. I've had a couple conversations about Rings of Power. So I'm in the community right now. I'm at Comic-Con. I'm living my life, and I'm talking about Rings of Power. So you get kind of like this like nerd energy going on. Then I went to Europe, and during Europe, I've never been to Europe. It's a different world, and I get stressed out. So at night, I would watch like one episode of Rings of Power, and it would make me feel a little bit more like I'm good, because I knew what I was getting myself into. I didn't have to worry about if people are going to speak the same language as me or whatever. I could just chill out and watch it. So I was like, cool, I can just relax here. I also went to Ian McKellen's pub in London, which kind of adds because Ian McKellen's Gandalf, so it kind of adds a little bit more there. So that's why I feel like I'm a little bit corrupted here, because I kind of like delve into the culture a little bit. I went to Oxford, where Tolkien, he has a big presence there, where he has like limited edition signed stuff for his books. So I'm corrupted here. I'm not gonna lie.
He has
I didn't
zero
like
presence in this show, though.
I know, but it's his world. He created Middle Earth.
It's no longer his world. This is not Middle Earth. This is not Tolkien. This is nothing to do with Lord of the Rings except for the names. It is not.
Well, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at, man. I'm corrupted. I didn't really love the story. It kind of sucked. But other than that, it was pretty.
How do you give it a 7 just for being pretty?
I didn't give it a 7. I gave it a 6.5.
6.5. You said 7.5 earlier. I heard a couple numbers.
It was going to be a 7.5, but then I docked it down. I'm at a 6.5 right now. Didn't pass. Couldn't pass it.
What does 6.5 mean?
6.5 means it looks pretty, because the VFX here are absolutely stellar, because they have so much money in it. And I didn't hate every character. Like even they did deviate from the lore pretty much 90% of the show. That doesn't mean I hated every character. I still think for me, the Stranger was interesting. They tried to red herring you at the end, and I wasn't buying that at all. That was poor writing. But like, I don't mind his character. The 3 elves with the Stranger, I don't know who the heck they are. They're not part of the lore, but I don't know. They're kind of cool too, a little bit. They look cool.
Oh,
so
you liked Feminem.
Like that.
You liked Feminem, did you?
I don't know who's Feminem.
Feminem, the one that looks like Eminem, but she's got boobs.
Oh, her?
Yeah,
what's her name? Do we have a name for those people, or they just kind of like showed up and like left?
There's Feminem.
But they're mysterious, and I was interested to know more about them. So that's where I'm at. I don't know what to tell you. That's where I'm at, man. I mean, you didn't like it, like. You're giving it 2 based on its VFX or what?
Huh?
You're giving it 2 based on its VFX? Like that's it?
Yeah, that's the only points it gets for its VFX. Like it gets 0 points anywhere else in the show. The characters are wrong, the lore is wrong, the world is wrong, the timing is wrong. Everything about the show is wrong.
You're right. Everything pretty much everything is wrong.
Mithriel's wrong. And
Mithril doesn't heal. Well, remember, okay, we're like not anywhere here yet in this podcast, but like the leaves are falling off the like elven tree, the elven god tree or whatever, and Mithril falls next to it and it heals the leaf. That's not a thing. I don't know why they made that. That's not a thing at all.
Nothing in this show is a thing.
No, you're right. Not really anything. It's not really even a Lord of the Rings. You are right when it's not really a Lord of the Rings show, or not Lord of the Rings. It's not a Middle-earth show. It just takes place. It's like a parody. It's like a parody show.
That's why I'm just baffled that you gave it over a 5. I just can't wrap my head around it.
Hey man, that's just how it is. I honestly, this is gonna blow your mind here. I'm about to make you upset. I prefer this over Wheel of Time.
No.
Yeah.
This is so much worse than Wheel of Time.
I prefer this over Wheel of Time.
Wheel of Time didn't break the lore so much as they just made up a bunch of crap that didn't matter and took away from the main story, which is why I was mad at Wheel of Time. This is so much worse because they are assassinating characters and lore left and right in this show. Whereas Wheel of Time, it wasn't as much of assassination. This show is straight up character assassination. Like, good God. Like, nothing lines up. In Wheel of Time, it was close enough, and I understood the characters enough to that, like, okay, I could see why they're doing this in Wheel of Time, but there's no good reason for any of the things they did in this show. Like,
well, they didn't have any reason. They were just making stuff up. It's like, this will work.
The thing is, like, the Second Age is perfect if you want to do a show and you want to make a lot of stuff up.
But they didn't have all the rights. There was a rights problem there. They couldn't just like use everything.
How do you spend $1 billion in the show and forget about the rights?
They didn't have. They only had like they had to expand a lot because I think the only rights they had were like appendixes in like the back of like certain books.
Yeah.
That referred to the Second Age. So they wouldn't be able to tell that story even if we wanted them to because they didn't have the rights to.
They don't have the rights to the Silmarillion. The Silmarillion is the First Age.
Yeah, but this takes place in the Second Age.
Exactly. The Silmarillion is the First Age. They have rights to most everything that they need to for the Second Age because most of it's appendices. Because it is a framework. Like, Tolkien has a framework for what happened in the Second Age. Like, it's perfect for making up a lot of stuff because it's not detailed, like character interactions and whatnot. Like, there is an outline of where characters should be at a given time based on the appendices. Like, there's so much room to make stuff up, tons of room, and instead of making up stuff around the structure of what Tolkien wrote, they just threw it all out and did whatever they wanted to. Like,
that's how writers do.
They're condensing the Second Age, which is thousands and thousands of years long, into the life of, Elendil and his son. I'm blanking on his name. Isildur.
You're the name guy.
They're cramming the entire thousands of years of lore into the lifespan of Isildur. So the entire Second Age takes place from when Isildur is like 20 to like when Isildur is like 120, when he cuts the ring off of, Sauron's hand. He's probably not even 120. Like, it's like less than 100 years they're trying to cram thousands of years of history into. Like, I didn't know this when the show came out, but Gil-galad, no, not Gil-galad, Celebrimbor, the Elven Smith, right?
Yep.
He died thousands of years before Isildur was born. 1,000 years before Isildur was born. The order the rings are made in are
wrong.
The Elven rings were made last.
They also, when they made them, they were scared of them. They didn't like just see the rings and they're like, oh, this is cool, let's put them on and all that. Because towards the end of the show, when they had the rings, they were kind of just like, cool, we got them now. They weren't like that when they actually made them in the books.
No, it's just like even like trying to figure out where they started to go wrong is just mind-bogglingly difficult because everything is wrong. But big things I want to touch on are the rings themselves. In a show called Rings of Power, they're like there at the last like 5 minutes of the show. They destroyed the character of Anatar. They removed him. The writers thought it was stupid that they would just believe this guy's giving gifts, and they came up with something even stupider. Mr. Halbrand, who we meet in the second episode.
Halbrand. Yep, episode 2 on a boat.
Who's freaking shady as hell the entire time. Everyone's like, oh, he's obviously Sauron.
Side note here. I don't know. I wasn't keeping up with what people were saying through this show. The first episode came out, and then I know you as well. I don't know how far you went into it, but I briefly looked at the reviews of the show, and I was like, not getting good reviews, not surprised. But after that, you and me, the knowledge I had was just what I was getting from the show. And you and me pretty much called everything that was going to happen. Like, after episode 2, we, like, knew everything. There was times where I thought maybe Hellbrand was going to be the Witch King. But I think when I text you that, you probably already watched all 8 episodes. So you already knew, confirmed what it was. So, also for the Stranger, I think I was bouncing back between Gandalf and Saruman. He's still not, the Stranger's still the Stranger. It's not confirmed. He's a wizard. We don't know what wizard he is. That's as far as I think. I don't think they really showed who he is yet.
If you want to go with the lore, he should theoretically be one of the blue lizards
Yes.
one of the blue wizards that go east. But the blue wizards, I believe, showed up together, and they showed up at the docks, like the docks of the Grey Havens. So, and they met an elf person there. So, like, the whole thing is wrong.
It's super wrong.
How he was like, it's like the whole thing with him was a red herring. They try to make you think he was Sauron with like the red.
Yeah, I was like, this just doesn't make sense. When they were trying to, so this is the last episode, I think. Not the second last. It's either the second last or the last episode.
It's the last episode.
These 3 like elf people that don't exist anywhere except this show, that are like those in white. I don't know any of their names. I don't know what their names are. I didn't even look it up because I didn't think it mattered. But they're like chasing the Stranger and trying to tell us that he's Sauron, and the entire show, all 7 episodes prior, gave us like nothing that like, yeah, this dude was gonna be Sauron. I don't know, just like that bothered me because I never bought that for a second. But they tried to make you buy it. It didn't work.
Terribly written.
Yeah, it was obviously Halbrand was going to be Sauron. It was from episode 2 on. He was like, I like blacksmithing. Okay, we know Sauron has to be involved for making the rings. I like power. It's like.
Yeah, it was not subtle at all. He was clearly Sauron from the very beginning. Like, if you didn't know in the first episode, when he has that longering, sexy look at the forge, it's obvious he's Sauron. Like, it wasn't even remotely subtle. But the rings of power forged in the very last episode. They forged the elven rings first. Like, and we got to talk about Mithril to even talk about the rings. So Mithril is apparently, okay, in Tolkien's lore, Mithril is just a metal that exists in Middle Earth. It's just a super light, super strong metal. Tolkien has said himself that some deposits were on Numenor. It's relatively rare. Most of it's in Khazad-dûm, but like, there are small deposits of it other places. And in the show, they decided to give the Mithril a backstory. A Balrog and a elf were fighting over.
They show Balrog in this show. I forgot about that.
They show Balrog twice in the show. A leaf wakes up Durin's Bane. Balrog and an elf are on top of the Misty Mountain somehow, above the tree line somehow, and there's a tree there somehow. And the elf is pouring his light into the tree while he's fighting the Balrog, and the Balrog is pouring his darkness into the tree while he's fighting the elf for whatever reason. I don't know.
Why not?
Like they're just like jizzing all over this tree, their respective powers, and trying to fight at the same time while their dicks hanging out, shooting stuff on the tree. And lightning strikes the tree, and the dark and the light shoot through the tree roots, and it makes everything the tree roots touched the Mithril for some reason. And it gives, and It's like they're trying to remake Peter Jackson's trilogy in the Second Age, and they're doing it horribly because, like, in the trilogy, Peter Jackson's, the elves' light are fading. That's why they're leaving the shores of Middle Earth to go back to Valinor, where the elves live. It's great and fine, but they're trying to like say that's happening again now, and we need Mithril to fix it. And Mithril's why they were making the Rings of Power. And like, Mithril has nothing to do with the Rings of Power. Galadriel's ring is the only one that's supposed to be made of Mithril, at least for the Elven rings.
Yeah, well, they didn't do that. They didn't follow the lore for the ring building at all.
Except they kind of did, because there is one myth. It's like the gold and Mithril separated, but like they're trying to like imply that's the Mithril that makes the rings power rings.
They're implying that
Like,
Mithril has some sort of it has like magic abilities, and they're trying to figure out what those magic abilities are. That's kind of like the vibe I was getting.
But it doesn't make sense. Like Sauron is one of the god. He's the same kind of creature as a Balrog and Gandalf. They're the same type of creature in the deity realm. They're like angels, basically.
Maya.
They're all three of them are Maiar.
Yep.
Gandalf, Sauron, and Balrogs. They're all the same celestial creature, but when they come
They're
to
on the
Earth,
same, yeah.
they're on the same plane when they're in like spirit form, but on the planet they're different because they were made differently. Like when he was made into a wizard, wizards were made to take on like bodies like men, be frail like men, need food and water and stuff like men, but they were wise and they had some kind of elemental power. Balrogs were corrupted, twisted Maiar by Morgoth from the first age. They're just remnants of the first age, all the stuff Morgoth did. Sauron was a Maiar who was a servant of Morgoth in the first age. All this lore stuff, and they kind of gloss over it in the first episode.
It's never really explained in anything. Unless you read the books, it's not explained anywhere. You need to read the books or watch long YouTube videos to understand that, because it's never told anywhere unless you read it.
I watched a lot of YouTube because I really wanted to understand. Like, I knew I didn't like the show, and I wanted to understand why I didn't like the show.
I knew I didn't like it, but I needed to understand why.
I needed to understand more of why I didn't like it. So, like, Sauron's thing is ring making. Like, he's got his own special magic and knowledge of like making special rings, and it has nothing to do with them being Mithril.
No. Yeah, you're right.
And it's just so insulting how like bad and dumb the writers are on lots of things. But we'll talk about the ring one first, since I'm talking about the rings right now. So Anatar is supposed to be Sauron in the Second Age. He's supposed to be this beautiful elf-like being, and he goes to the elves and teaches them the secrets of ring making. And it's like and rings of power specifically. They create the human rings and the elven and the dwarven rings. And then when Anatar leaves, elves make the rings for themselves. Like, their rings are made before the One Ring, but they're kind of after Anatar leaves, and Celebrimbor is just kind of like experimenting, trying to figure stuff out with them.
Yep.
Like, the ring should have nothing to do with Mithril except for Galadriel's ring. It's just so annoying that they're
Mithril's making a comeback, man. That stuff's gonna be around for the whole show. Every episode, every season, you're gonna see some Mithril stuff, because they're gonna keep going back, because they're gonna need more. They're gonna need more and more. I bet you anything that they're gonna keep bringing this Mithril thing up.
Well, I mean, like, it's just like Mithril's fine. It should be part of the lore. Like, it should be there. But like, they also woke up Durin's Bane really early, I guess, because I mean, there's a lot of Mithril things in the world by the time the Third Age comes around, but there's not much new production because Durin's Bane has taken over, Moria. But like, it's like they woke him up in the season where they discovered Mithril. I'm like, what are you doing? Come on. It's not good. It's just like there's nothing right about this show. But also, so in the Forging of the Rings, Halbrand, he's not an elf anymore. He's not disguised as an elf Anatar. He's disguised as a human who had a mortal wound from some stupid battle that never happened in the lore. And he goes to Celebrimbor and he's like, Celebrimbor is all like sad that he can't figure out how to make more of the mithril or like, get anything out of the mithril. And he's like, have you tried alloying the metal together? And I'm like,
that was just a great idea.
I'm just like, okay, you're a human.
High level blacksmith's idea.
You're a human. You've been to to Celebrimbor. You've been alive longer than like his baby children, who are alive probably 200 years, and he's the elven blacksmith. He is the guy, and this human's like, alloy the metal together. Let's call it a gift as a nod to Anatar, the giver of gifts. And I'm like, really? That's his only contribution to making the rings and like imbuing ring lore and ring power to them. The stuff that he knows specifically is, yeah, just alloy. You're saying an elfin smith who's been alive for thousands of years doesn't know what alloying metals are?
No, he didn't know.
Oh,
He was unsure.
And then the next most insulting thing they did was Galadriel, Elendil, and all the humans at the settlement just, get a face full of volcanic ash that's thousands of degrees hot, and yeah, they're fine.
Except one of them. One of them doesn't make it out too good. Muriel, she goes blind.
No, she goes blind, not from the volcano, but from some random sparks from the house after,
Wait, really?
After the volcano.
Oh, I thought for sure like she was the one that got affected. I thought that's how they were saying that the smoke had like actually was powerful.
It was not from the volcano. It was from burning embers of the house that was burning afterwards.
Oh
when
God,
she was
dude,
helping. When she was helping, look, can you knock this show down to below 5, please? Like
if I go below 5, I won't watch season 2. I can't anything for my rating. If I give anything that's 5.9 or lower, I won't watch season 2, and I still want to watch season 2.
I mean, I will watch season 2 and I will talk about it, but it's probably it's got to improve significantly.
What's improved significantly? Is it you want it to go up 100% from where you're at now, so you get a 4?
I mean that would be significant. Yes.
You need a 200% increase. 400 to make it really good.
Okay, and then Galadriel. Galadriel's this warrior lady. She kills an ice troll single-handedly in like 3 swipes. When like
well, she was definitely. Oh wait, hold on. Before we go, like, I wanted to do like favorite character and least favorite character. Are we just like of consensus that Galadriel is like the worst character?
Galadriel's absolutely the worst. She's the main character of the show, and she is the worst character.
She's definitely the worst part of the show.
In the show, she is inconsistent and evil. She is an elf, and she's supposed to be good, and she's like her power is like this. Really,
she's like selfish. She's like everything she's doing is just for herself.
She's like a 4-year-old child, and she's supposed to be thousands of years old. She is an awful.
I mean, not person. Supposed to. She is. She is thousands of years old at this point.
She acts like she's like 4. And super like a bratty child the entire time.
She's a really powerful 4-year-old.
And then she like tells people like she's like, oh, I'm gonna murder you. I'm gonna make you. She tells Adar, I'm gonna murder you. I'm gonna murder all your children in front of you. Like she wants to commit genocide in front of this guy. And then like an episode later, she's talking to the child. She's like, you shouldn't think about wanting to kill orcs because that'll darken your soul. And I'm like, you 5 minutes ago you talked about genociding everything this guy likes in front of his eyes, and you're like, no, killing orcs is bad. wanting to kill orcs is bad. I'm like, really? Like the writing is so inconsistent. It's so bad. It's so dumb. And like, even if this was divorcing it from the lore, I still can't give this show above a 4. Like, I brought it down even more pegs once I learned the lore. I can't give, because the show is just so badly written. It's just so inconsistent. It's so bad. I've been dominating this conversation. What do you have to say about some of this stuff, Brian?
David, do you have a favorite character?
Durin and his wife. They're the only
okay, so at least we agree on that. Galadriel is the worst and Durin is the best.
Durin and his wife are the only characters that feel like people that are relatable and talk about their problems.
Come on, man. They're not people. They're dwarves.
I know. But like they feel like relatable people. They're the only kind of well-written characters. They're written. their relationship feels more real than any relationship in the show. The Elrond Durin relationship, it feels weird and awkward. Like I hate Elrond in this show. I hate Galadriel. It's the guy who plays Elendil is like one of the best actors in the show, and then like they kind of ruin him by like making him go cry in a corner.
Yeah.
Like
So for me, a lot of pretty much everything you're saying, I'm bored with. I agree with you. I know the lore. I don't like the show. The show's not good. But the thing is with the rating, like I'm just kind of like for this episode, I'm trying to just removing the ratings because I know that obviously neither one of us really liked the show too much. But for me, it was I'm telling you, man, it's just because it was something to watch when I was like stressed out or going to Comic-Con and you get that hype. That's the only reason. And if I give it anything below a 5.9, that's terrible, and I won't watch it. But I want to watch season 2, so I can't give it below a 6. That's my own personal rules here, man.
Gotcha. I mean, like I can't give.
If you gave it like what is there a rating where you're like I'm not watching season 2? Because like if we watch something that's so bad and you're like I don't want like we can't talk about this anymore. This is just awful. Like is there like is it doesn't matter? Because for me I want the rating to mean something for me. Because like if I give something like a 1, that means like this is abysmal. I don't even want to talk about this.
Well, I mean, the reason I'm giving it such a low score of 1 or 0, I mean, like the rating scale has to mean something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I give lots of stuff 6s and 7s because like it's watchable. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. It's got problems, and I'll talk about it. This show is nothing but problems. I have to rate it based on that. Like, there's nothing redeemable about this show. It's got good special effects, and I've seen House of the Dragon. I like House of the Dragon a lot better. And yes,
House of the Dragon is written. From what I hear, it's written a lot better.
Yes, but the special.
George R.R. Martin had a heavy hand in writing, right? I haven't watched it yet.
Yes,
Okay.
he at least helped.
He does know how to write.
So
that's one thing we can give to him.
But from a special effects standpoint, Rings of Power does stand above House of the Dragon because the CGI that they used in the first 2 episodes was like movie quality. Like House of the Dragon is really good special effects, but it's definitely TV quality special effects, and you can see a difference. That's like
TV. Like, what do you mean TV? Is it any worse or better than Game of Thrones?
Oh, it's better than Game of. It's like in between.
Oh, okay.
It's like between Game of Thrones. There's some scenes where it's like.
Because it's not like it's not like House of the Dragon is a cheap show to make. It's also extremely expensive.
Oh yeah. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying I'm just saying there is a qualitative difference between the CGI and Rings of Power, and we know they spent $1 billion on Rings of Power. Like
that's insane. $1 billion is just. That's because I don't know how much House of the Dragon, but I know how much Game of Thrones costs, and it was a couple million per episode. It costs a couple million. I'm gonna assume that House of the Dragon also probably cost a couple million per episode. There's 8 or 10 episodes of House of the Dragon.
10? I think 10.
10? Okay, so there's 10 episodes. Figure we'll highball it and we'll say it costs $150 million to make the show. That's like 15% of how much it costs to make Rings of Power. It costs over $1 billion to make this show. That's crazy, man. Oh man, they still couldn't do it. Those writers couldn't do it, man.
And you know, who's
in control of the writers? Fire them. Get new writers out here because they're not good at writing, man.
They're not. And like, you know, I've seen YouTube videos and like people talking about the Vanity Fair articles where JD Pan and Vance or whatever the 2 showrunners for Rings of Power are. They called like fans objectively evil for criticizing the show, and like the show is bad because the lore is inaccurate and very bad. People are calling people racist because they don't like the diverse people in the show, and I'm like, well, I don't think they like the writers like the diverse people in the show because there's a black elf and a black dwarf. Like, it's like they're literally the tokenist of character. Like, they're just like, here's a black dwarf and here's a black elf. I mean, like, sure, they're like the main one, but there's like none in the background. None of the other elves are black, or none of the other dwarf. Like, why? Like, you're just throwing one in for like just
throwing one in.
They're just to meet the diversity quota. Oh, one is enough.
I mean, let's be fair here. Even if if all the other lore was correct and all they did was add in a black elf, I'm like a black elf is not bothering me.
Well,
I don't care if that breaks the lore.
It doesn't bother me. I just think that it's disrespectful as they're like, we got all this diversity in the show, but there's one elf that's black and one dwarf that's black. None of the other side characters in the background or anything they're all white.
Yeah,
Like,
if I was making the show, I would have more diversity for sure. Because when Tolkien wrote this, he's probably a little bit racist, so everything is kind of white.
Well,
but
it's not that he's racist. It's that he's representing it's a Northern European.
Okay, come on, David. There are no black people. There really are no black people or any other than white people, pretty much in Middle Earth when it was written. If I was making this show nowadays, diversity does need to be taken into account. I'm not gonna get rid of other races just because it wasn't in the show. That to me, that lore doesn't matter. I think it's fair. I don't want to like leave other people feeling out. When they had the Little Mermaid trailer come out and it was revealed that Ariel was going to be black, I saw like a clip of like black kids watching this and they were like crying. They're like 4 years old and they're like crying because they're happy because they can see Ariel. Oh my god, she's black like me. So I know it's important to people of other races. You and me don't really have that problem because we're white. Everybody's white. So I think it's fine to have other characters that are black. Just I would prefer if they added more.
Well,
in the background.
That's the thing. Like, I mean, they just claim this champion of diversity, but like, where's the other?
They added like one of each.
One of each. Yeah.
one race of each kind.
And like it's I don't know. It's just strange. Like, I don't know. I don't know, man. It's just they always hype up the diversity, and it's like there's one of each. Like, wow,
there's not really diversity in here.
So diverse.
There's not really diversity in here. There's a little bit, but it's not too much. They offer the little people with the little foots. They
Hardfoots.
have the Hardfoots. They have those, so they have their representation, and then they have.
Oh yeah, people. They totally represent that because they killed the one black guy of the Harfoots.
They did kill the one black guy. Each set of races in Middle Earth has one black person. And there's like one black human, there's like one black elf, there's one black Harfoot. We need to add one black person for that.
There's one of each, and then like they did like the stereotypical the black guy dies first, and the black guy dies in the Harfoots. He's the only Harfoot.
What's your thoughts on that? We haven't talked about the Hardfoots at all. Do you like them at all? I don't like them. I think they're stupid. I hate them.
They are evil little bastards. I don't know.
I don't like them. I don't like them either.
How does their culture exist? They
shouldn't.
They purposely leave people behind. They should be.
That bothered me so much. It's like there's like 40 of you, and you're just gonna leave people. But that's like 15% of like your population. You can't just get rid of 15% of your people. There's only like 20 of you left now.
They are evil little bastards. Like they're gonna have no genetic diversity. They're gonna die off and be all inbred, and like all their kids are gonna be stillborn because there's only a couple of them left. Because they were even threatening to take people's wheels. Like,
yeah, maybe they turn into goblins.
They are just evil people.
They're gonna turn into goblins, man.
And also in Tolkien's lore, the Harfoots are the least likely of the Hobbit races to want to migrate.
Well, that's like their whole thing.
Yeah, I know, but the lore, like they can't even like pick the right name of the Hobbit offshoot race that likes to travel. Like the Harfoots are the ones that would least likely to travel in Tolkien's lore, from the stuff I've been researching. Like absolutely nothing in this show is correct. From a lore standpoint. And then,
so what do you think about Adar then?
Adar was fine.
Okay.
I mean, like he was mostly boring and like super white.
Mostly
boring, super white, and like another reason why I'm upset there's only like one black elf is like they had him get enslaved to the super white orcs and Adar. It's like you're really doing like a Civil War slavery like thing in this show. Like Tolkien has gone on record many times and says he hates allegory, and you're sitting there doing like a
allegory,
black man being enslaved to white orcs allegory of like the the American Civil War or whatever. It's like, really? Like, you're not even being subtle about it. Like, the only reason you made that one elf black was so you could do a racism allegory.
You think when they're writing this show, so they get hired on, they're doing the writers, oh, big deal, it's a huge deal, we get on Rings of Power, it's going to be huge, so the writers are excited, and then the head writer, who's ever in charge of the writers, comes in, and he has like a sheet of paper, and has like all the like things that are required, and it's all like, we need to point to American history, we need to get more diversity. Like, that would just, oh my gosh, I would love to see that sheet. It definitely exists, because this doesn't happen on accident. You don't
But
you don't refer to American history on accident. There's something's going on here, because it's very clearly getting enslaved by white orcs. But
very white orcs.
There's got to be a sheet that exists. It's like, okay, we need like a black person here. We need this cultural.
It was probably
shift
a
here.
It was probably a whiteboard, so they could erase it.
Maybe. I would like to see that sheet though. Can you imagine if that leaked? That'd be something. Anybody who's out there and listening that has worked as writer for Rings of Power, send us this sheet. I know it exists. It's an email. You have a picture of it. It's somewhere. Give it to me. I won't leak it. I just want to read it.
Well, the writers have stopped listening because I've said nothing but terrible things about this show and the writing quality.
I mean, do you think, I don't know who the writers are, but like, do you think the writers are proud that they made this? I don't think they're proud. I think they're just being told what
the
to
showrunners are. They keep doubling down on how the show's a masterpiece.
Well, the showrunners are starting to, like, every showrunner is starting to suck. All the showrunners are is like, there's a lot of showrunners that are just like, we do our own thing. We don't abide by anybody. Game of Thrones had this happen with.
Yeah, it happened with Game of Thrones also. And, like, Amazon wanted their Game of Thrones, and they got it. They got season 8 of Game of Thrones with the season 1 of Rings of Power. They went straight to season 8, and that awful quality. Like, J.D. Vance and Payne, like, they are just asinine. I've heard interviews where they asked them about, like, the show, and they were like, oh, we always went back to the book. Like, did you go back to the book to specifically not do what the book says? It says this in the book, so we're going to do the opposite of what's in the, like, is that...
That seems like what they did.
It feels
most of the time, they were just taking... Like it's either they just didn't know the lore at all, and they were just making stuff up, obviously, with the mithril. Like, that's where I'm getting that from. But for the rest of the show, it seems like anybody who read anything of these books or whatever kind of read them, and then were like, okay, opposite time, let's do a Ryan Johnson. And then just make everything the opposite of what anybody says.
Their expectations. Yeah. Well,
yes.
I think I read somewhere that they did do that. That's why they didn't put...
Did they? Really?
That's why they didn't put Anatar in the show. That's why they made Hellbrand, so that people wouldn't know that he was Sauron.
Wow, what a stupid, like, they might as well have just put him in, because this show is supposed to be multiple seasons, and why they, like, blew their load on telling us that he's Sauron in the first season. Oh man, that was stupid. If they weren't going to hide it for more than a season, they should have just used him.
One of Sauron's powers is shape-shifting, and, like, he's supposed to be a pretty boy during this age, and he loses his ability to shapeshift after Numenor gets destroyed. Yep. Because it wrecked his body, and I think he'd already spent a lot of power making the One Ring at this point. So that messed things up with him, and because he spent so much of his essence is in the One Ring, he can't make himself look pretty, so then he's like just looks evil from, like, pretty much destruction of Numenor on. So I mean, also, like, Halbrand was the only, like, pretty boy that didn't have a set name, like, that recognizable name, so that also, like, pointed to him being Sauron. Like, of course he's Sauron. He's got to be a pretty boy.
It was pretty clear right away.
I mean, people were like, "Oh, maybe the stranger's Sauron." I'm like, "There's no way the stranger's Sauron."
That's the dumbest thing for me. That really bothered me. That was the dumbest thing in the entire show. I didn't believe it for a second. I thought it was a waste of 25 minutes. Absolute waste of time. If I can rate that stretch, that, like, little stretch there, I'm giving it a 1. I hate it. It was so stupid. They're not like the elves, those whoever those elves were that aren't in any lore except Rings of Power came in and they're like, oh, you're Sauron. How'd they make that mistake? Who are they? Where'd they come from?
I think they're humans from the West, and they were
This is stupid.
They were
I hate it.
They were the whitest people in the show because the
Yeah,
thing is
they don't that white hair. Everything's white. They didn't explain anything. They didn't even really talk. Three of them didn't even look the same. One of them kind of looked like this. One of them was like extremely powerful. Like the powers that one that you know who I'm talking about. That I don't know the name.
Feminine.
The powerful one. Yeah, that one. Where did she get these powers from? These are not weak powers. The Middle Earth magic is like where that person would rank is like S tier. That is she's extremely powerful. Is it like most of it is kind of like a softer magic system where not everybody's running around with these magic abilities.
Yeah. Like,
So where'd she get them from? Oh my god, dude.
yeah, Lord of the Rings is a relatively low magic tier system. Like I don't call it high fantasy unless it's got a ton of magic. And we like Rings of Power has like five wizards.
Yeah, and they're all pretty powerful, and she's like up there with the wizards. Her abilities. Who is she? She's not explained at all.
Oh, I think they're supposed to be from the West, and those are supposed to be the dark-skinned people, like because they were dark.
But how did they make this mistake? How do you make a mistake that bad? Like to us, the audience, it was clear who Sauron was. How did the people that actually live on the planet mess up so bad when the viewer knew? Oh my god, the viewers knew if you were just into Lord of the Rings. I hated it.
Like the thing is Galadriel, like she's not supposed to be this warrior. Like she's supposed to be powerful without ever having to pick up a sword. She's got an extreme gift of foresight and reading people and just innate knowledge of things. Like when Anatar comes in the lore, when Anatar comes to the elves, she's like one of the only ones that doesn't believe them because she can kind of see through his BS because she's got this gift of insight. And in the show, like she falls from hook, line, and sinker. There was a couple points in the show where it looked like they were gonna kiss. It's just like, why? Why are you doing this? Why are you ruining the character of Galadriel? You're making her so dumb when she's supposed to be one of the wisest of the elves and so smart. And then they make Gil-galad the king of the elves. They make him out like he's a bad guy. They're gonna send her to Valinor to shut her up. Like
they did make him the bad guy.
They play him up.
It's not like kinda. They did make him a bad guy.
They made him a bad guy in the show. This is the guy who is standing next to Elendil and dies next to Elendil fighting Sauron. Gil-galad. He is a good elf, and in the show they make him like he's a bad guy. He is a good guy. He dies to Sauron right next to Elendil. Like,
yes.
What are you doing? And then like there's this really brutal scene in the lore where Celebrimbor, so basically in the lore, the elven rings are made and are made last. You got the human rings and the elvish rings, and Celebrimbor gets he hides the ring, he hides the elven rings, and Sauron tortures him to death. He dies and doesn't give up the location of the elven rings, and Sauron is able to track down the human and the dwarven rings. And because he doesn't give up the rings, Sauron has like the orcs fill his body with arrows, and they hoist his body up on like a banner, and they carry his banner into his dead body into battles. Like his death and his corpse is treated brutally by the orcs, and this is something I don't even think they're gonna even try to do in the show. Like, but it's
they're
just
not, no, they're not gonna do that.
That's just so demoralizing and so like awesome badass. Like it's just like it's awful, but it's like also kind of like, oh man, that's crazy that the orcs did that. Like Tolkien wrote this. Like, you know, people think of like, you know, Lord of the Rings as like more PG and stuff, and like Tolkien wrote some like
no, there's definitely darker parts. They're just the only really Tolkien is to the normal audience, or not like the normal world or the rest of the world, is he made Lord of the Rings. I bet most people don't even know that Lord of the Rings is actually just one book. It was just published in three different. Yeah. I bet that's not even common knowledge. I don't know if it is or not, but I feel like that's probably not even common knowledge because most people don't read this stuff.
But all the three Lord of the Rings books are broken up into book 1, book 2.
Yeah. I mean, there's the lore is deeper than what most people would think. How about that?
The lore is super deep, and the thing is, the lore, it's not Middle Earth, and it's not Tolkien without the lore. And they eviscerated every single bit of the lore and just made everything up. And the thing is, they could have told an amazing story using the lore, using the framework Tolkien set. You didn't have to have Elendil, and you didn't have to have Isildur in the first season. You could have had the season 1 and 2 about the elves and Anatar. They get deceived. We get the Celebrimbor getting killed. We get battles with the orcs and the elves with Celebrimbor's body on the hoist and carried in the battle, demoralizing to the elves. You've got all this stuff. And then as we get closer to, the end of the Second Age, then we introduce Isildur, and maybe we go to Numenor sometimes to show them slowly falling from grace because they were friends of the elves, and then they got more and more into Morgoth worship. And then they try to go to Valinor and demand immortality from the gods. And then Iluvatar, like the god of Middle Earth, just like, nah, you can't do this. Middle Earth is flat. He makes it into a sphere and destroys Numenor. Like it's such a cool thing. And like, they're doing it all wrong. I mean,
yeah.
Numenor is gonna die, but it's probably not gonna be nearly as epic as like the way it's written. And there's a framework in Tolkien's lore for you to do things, and there's so much stuff for you to like make up, and you can write dialogue, because it's not like there's like back and forth dialogues written in Tolkien's work. It's like an outline of what's going on, and then they Celeborn, Galadriel's husband, they make like he's dead, and I'm like, well that's weird, because Celeborn and Galadriel's daughter marries Elrond, and she's the mother of Arwen. Come on. Can we get like anything right in the show? Like, they can't have her tied down to a man. Like, does she already have the child? Like, and Celeborn is there in the Third Age with Galadriel. He's like the guy standing next to her that doesn't say anything in the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy. He's there, but like, Celeborn, like her husband, the daughter, the grandfather of Arwen.
There's so much lore breaking, and it sucks. I mean, there always, no matter what you do, there's always whatever. If you're adapting something from a book to a movie, there's always going to be some stuff that you're not going to be able to bring over. That's fine.
Some stuff is fine.
But like they didn't, like, no matter what movie it is, and if it came from a book, there has to be some lore breaking stuff, because books are just there's too much in books to show in a movie. You can't show everything. So a little bit stuff they have to fast track and stuff. But for Rings of Power, they either just chose to disrespect it or just didn't know it.
Both, apparently, because they claim
for some people probably both. For some people one.
They claim to have read the books, because
I don't believe them.
There's audio.
There's no way they read the books.
There's audio that says we went back to the books for all this stuff.
Who's going back to the books? What are these names?
The showrunners.
I want to reach out.
JD.
They said this. Can I read? How big are they? Can I like email them? I would do that a business email. I just want to ask questions, man. I just want to know like what happened here.
Ask Elon Musk if you've got permission to tweet them.
Are they on Twitter?
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't have a Twitter.
A lot of people left Twitter after Elon Musk got it.
I don't have one of those. I need more traditional, more professional way to reach out. I need a private conversation. Can I pay? I will pay $1, please. 5-minute conversation. I have a couple questions.
One Indian rupee.
1 Indian rupee, please. That's an inside joke. But I think let's end with on a positive note here. This is something we can both speak positively. Hopes for season 2. What are your hopes? What is something? Keep in mind, obviously, they're probably still going to continue to not follow the lore very much. And I think at this rate right now, after season 2, I'll probably dip below that 5.9. And I probably will stop after season 3. Most likely. That's where I think I'm going. But for the characters that we have, I hope Hellbrand continues to kind of get a little bit, he starts doing some Sauron stuff that's more closer to the books.
Well, he's not, because the writers have already said...
I know, but like, let him do writers, a little bit cooler stuff.
The showrunners have said they want him to be like Walter White.
Oh, come on, man. 2. Really? What?
They want him...
All right, how do we improve this show? We need to end on a positive note here, man. We can't just say everything's negative. I just said I'm probably not watching it after season 3. Or season 2. So we gotta come back here. We gotta what's some changes we could make besides just follow the lore and screw everything. We have what we have. There's some stuff that are just they can't just completely 180 on some stuff here.
I don't even
Fix Galadriel. Make Galadriel fix her to more like her character. They can kind of weave her back a little bit. Rein her in. Make her a little bit more like she is in the books. Because she is a cool character, but
she's a great character. But she's
this show
awful.
makes her seem like she's I don't know like you said, like a 4-year-old running around that's in an adult body, just like running around trying to where's Sauron? I'm gonna kill him. Then she has a chance and doesn't do it. Well, she kind of gets manipulated a little bit, but she has a chance.
But like I said in the lore, she's the one who sees through his shit, and in the show, she just falls for it every single time.
Well, it's like in this. Obviously, this is just a show. This would just end the show. But her only goal is to kill Sauron. And if she would have just took out her sword and just went boom, instead of stopping at his neck and tell me who you are, just do it. You know who he was. You had the family tree.
I mean, they've changed everything about the lore already. Why not have her kill Sauron? I mean, at this point, does it?
Okay. We can't go that far.
At this point,
who's the bad guy? The Adar? We're gonna make that Adar the main bad guy.
Yeah, he'll.
He actually wasn't I didn't hate him. But Adar was fine.
The thing is, if she kills Sauron, it doesn't matter. He won't die. He is, like we said,
he would just come back.
He is a Maiar.
He would just come back. Actually, they should have done that. Step back. Since he can't come back, and it doesn't really matter if he dies, I would have had Galadriel just kill her. Just kill him at the end of episode 8. Leave everybody on a cliffhanger. Don't tell anybody who he is, even though we knew who he is Sauron. Don't let the show establish that he is Sauron. And then just have Galadriel kill him, and then season 2 or whatever hint that he's coming back. We're hearing whispers he might be coming back, and then we see him in season 3 for the first time, and he's dope.
And the thing is, even at the end of Lord of the Ring, this is how deep I've been. I've gone even and researched original Lord of the Rings lore.
You've went really deep. I didn't know some of the lore stuff you're I do know the lore, and some of the lore stuff you're going deeper than what I know.
So even at the end of Return of the King, when Sauron dies, they destroy the ring, Sauron's still not really dead.
Yeah, no, he's not.
He's a spirit, and he's so weak now he can't really coalesce. But he kind of if he could.
He still exists. It would take a lot for him to come back, but he doesn't. He's at a point where he's probably never gonna come back for a billion years or whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
but
he could put his.
He's still around.
He could put his spirit around someone, and probably corrupt them and try to manipulate them in spirit form. But he physically.
I mean, this is not a day one check one day one. We're gonna Sauron's coming back. This takes thousands of years.
His spirit is spread out like ashes in the wind. Basically, the way they describe it in the book. His spirit exists. He is alive. He's just vapor, but he's still there. He's there enough that he could come back someday.
Would you trust anybody to continue writing into that?
No. Considering they couldn't get
like an actual not like a showrunner or a writer for a show, like an author. You think there's any author out there that would be willing to take that on? That'd be really scary, man. I wouldn't want to do that. That'd be scary to write into.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, if Robert Jordan was still alive, I would trust him to do it. But
he's dead.
He's dead. I don't know if I trust anybody
else. That kind of
else.
fantasy writing doesn't exist anymore. We're in a different age for fantasy books nowadays. It's a different time. These shows, Tolkien's is talked about so much as being the greatest fantasy writer because the books he wrote back then still translate to today. A lot of older fantasy stuff, even if they're good, are very different from the fantasy is nowadays. But Tolkien has somehow been able to appease the old fantasy that is not super old, but from 80s and 70s and all that into today.
Tolkien's work.
That's why people like him.
Tolkien's work is timeless. It works.
Masterpiece.
It still works. It is a masterpiece, and it is a shame that they couldn't even conjure the tiniest fraction of that masterpiece with Rings of Power. It is sad and devastating to me as a Tolkien fan, as a fantasy fan, as just a general geek, that even
We're both very passionate about
even if
Lord of
we
the Rings.
like even if they just were gonna make our own show set in Lord of the Rings, we're gonna ignore the lore, and they just said that up front, and they were just gonna make our own show. Even if they said that, and they didn't, because they claimed it was going to be following lore, and it isn't. But if they would have given us a preamble saying this is not going to follow lore, this is an Earth 313 version of Middle Earth, like it's a different set of it,
baby.
Yeah. If it was a different thing, like if they would have said that, and they would have told us that and prepared us for that, this show still fails. It was not entertaining. It was dreadfully boring, and even. Like the volcano stuff, just them getting swallowed up by a volcano like that. It's just like no one's gonna survive that. I don't care what this fantasy world is.
Yeah, they're all gonna die.
That is, and then Galadriel especially. She was in armor. I would have cooked her like even if the volcanic blast didn't kill her, the temperature would have heated up her armor.
Yeah, but she's like magic. So like let it. It's like she's magic and stuff.
Elves can still die from a sword wound and like.
No, remember at the start of the show they said we didn't even have a word for death.
Well, because the elves hadn't died yet. They had. No,
I know, so she can't die. She's a god.
Until the war with Morgoth, they didn't have a word for death.
Yeah, same thing, man. She's taking some heat.
Do you know why rocks float and ships sink? It's because the writing in the show is very bad.
Oh god, David, we still need. How do we improve into season 2? We need to end on a positive note for you, man. We need to bring you out of here.
Okay. Okay, season 2.
Season 2. Let me hear it.
The opening last season was a really sick joke. Here's the real season 1.
Here's the real season 1.
And then they do it. They start over. Do it right.
All right. Well, that's not going to happen.
That's how you. I don't know how else they could fix it because the show is so irreparably broken at this point. There's no lore nuggets for them.
Well, we have to build off what we have in the show now.
Everything is broken. I don't know how you could like make
we
it better.
We gotta make new lore. It's gotta be brand new. It's a different. It's like what we said last night, where we got this MCU thing. That this has got to be a different universe now. We got to like change it up a little bit. Things happen a little bit different here.
Well, I mean, you got to make Galadriel not insufferable. You got to make her not insufferable.
For sure.
You got to make Elrond not insufferable. You have to make.
He wasn't as bad as Galadriel, though.
He wasn't as bad, but
okay.
I did not like him though. I just something about I didn't like his delivery. I don't know what it was. I did not like him. Make Gil-galad not a bad guy. Bring back Celeborn. Let's get to Arwen. We gotta have, Elrond's wife so that they can have Arwen. Like this is a thing. Whereas.
These are things that have to happen.
These are things.
I mean, they wrote everything. She might come in some point. I don't know.
But are they changing? Like, we need to like reel things back in. Like,
reel things in. We need to reel a lot of things in and make some slight changes. All
the Harfoots need to be ignored.
Well, they're not going to do that. They're only going to get bigger. Actually. They might leave them behind, except one of them.
It could just be Nori and the Stranger, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be Nori and the Stranger. But I don't care about it. I really don't care about the Harfoots.
I don't. So leave them.
I can't name any of them. But there's another Poppy. I think was like Nori's best friend.
I guess
that was the one she said like goodbye to, and she's like, "Come back and visit." I think that her name was Poppy. But other than that, I have a sheet of characters I'm referencing that if I need to know the name. Poppy is not on here. I'm just going off memory, so I can't confirm that. There are a couple characters I do know the name of, but some of them I don't. But yeah, I think it'll just be Nori and the Stranger going forward, because the Stranger, to me, I'm still kind of interested in the Stranger story. I want to know more about him. Just how it is.
It's like obviously Gandalf.
Because he was the only character I liked. Here we go again. He was the only character I kind of liked in the entire show, and then they like do this red herring thing in episode 8, man.
I thought you liked Durin.
I like Durin, but like in terms of like story, like I just want to see more of Durin. Just Durin doing Durin things. I want more character development for the Stranger. For Durin, just let him keep doing his thing, man. Just let him be. He doesn't need a character develop. Just like kind of what he was doing. Just keep it going. Keep it going, man. You're good, Durin.
Well, the thing that just kills me is that even the blue mages I don't think show up until like the end of the second age. I mean, I guess it is the end of the second age.
Yeah,
but Gandalf doesn't show up until like 1,000 years into the third age.
Yeah, no, I don't. That's why I don't think the stranger. That's why I was saying because I don't know when Saruman shows up.
He's
But
cl-
I knew when Gandalf shows up, and it really doesn't match up to what's going on. Even though it's kind of hinted that it could be Gandalf, but
Oh,
I'm changing it. I hope it's Sauron.
I mean,
Sauron.
Saruman. I mean, it could be Saruman. It would make more sense because I think Saruman does show up before Gandalf. But
Yeah, I'm
like,
not sure.
nothing in the lore is right, so it doesn't matter. Right? It could be anything. It's
It
probably
could.
it's
I'm
probably
leaning more towards it's Gandalf, but I'm hoping it's going to be Saruman.
I mean, it's probably he literally quoted the follow your if you when in doubt follow your nose. The thing he said to in Moria to Pippin or whatever. Like
Yeah, well, let's
literally
hope he doesn't. Okay.
literally pulling lines from the original trilogy. Like they're pulling lines from better source material into their garbage fire.
From a better movie. Oh man.
It's just
Well,
insulting. What
Yeah.
would make it better for you? So you're asking me how to make it. I'm like, I don't know. You just
I
gotta,
think you need to reel
picks.
back almost all the characters. Definitely Galadriel, reel them back into the kind of like Clay, kind of like tone down all her personality traits and everything she wants and everything. Tone them back a little bit to say like, oh, I've like grown above. This is for all characters pretty much. I've grown to like be different or whatever, and then kind of mold them back into a little bit more towards what they are in the lore. You're never gonna get Galadriel from the lore from this show unless they started over. It's never you're never gonna get 1-to-1. So I'd like if they kind of went more into a direction of that for any character that's in the books.
Like literally.
So that's how I think it's the only way to do it.
Galadriel and Elrond should be switched because Elrond is the warrior. He goes to war. He fights.
Yeah, I mean that's not a super hard leap to make. I don't think. I think they could make her because they could make that change if they had to. It might be a bad episode, but like they could. I think they could do it, and then it would help the rest of the show. I don't know, man. This is like I said. Like this is probably going to be after season 2. I'm not going to watch anymore. So I don't know. We'll see where I don't really have words for what I've said. Most of the things you're saying for the lore and stuff. It's more, I think, just educating anybody who didn't know them.
Yeah,
For the show, the show's not good. I don't know. Maybe
I'm trying. I'm trying to.
I don't even want to recommend. Honestly, I don't really want to recommend this show. But like, if you like fantasy, I guess.
If you haven't,
fine.
no.
We're gonna watch something.
If you have not watched this show, do not watch this show. Do not give Amazon the clicks.
That's
Amazon.
Honestly,
I am deeply scared for any future Amazon TV shows. Wheel of Time was a travesty. This show is even worse. And like I loved The Expanse, but they got it from Sci-Fi, and the original authors were working
the
on
Sci-Fi is not really Amazon's product, or technically, I guess technically legally it is, but like it didn't start with Amazon.
It didn't
They
start,
already had.
but
I'm sure a lot of people that were working on The Expanse when it was under Amazon control also worked on it when it was under Sci-Fi. So I'm sure it's the same people just making the show. Just
The
Amazon does it.
Expanse was really good, and so that's why I had hope for Wheel of Time and Rings of Power. I had hope, but after seeing Rings of Power just this is like one of the longest fantasy book series there are, and you're gonna have a hard time condensing those books into a 8-season or 7-season show. But then they spend most of the runtime making up stuff that never happened. It's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That's what bothered me. Like, you're not even telling the story. And then this one, you had room to make stuff up, but you disregarded all the lore too instead of making it fit the lore. Like, it's not that. I mean, it's not that he gave you an outline. Just fill in the blanks. That's all you had to do with Rings of Power to make a good show. And then they've got the rights. They're making a Fallout TV show. Fallout's one of my favorite video game franchises. And Amazon I've got almost no hope for the Fallout show now. Yeah. Like I'm just assuming the Fallout show is going to be a hot piece of garbage because Amazon, their track record for TV shows is not been good lately. I mean,
Fallout probably won't be very good.
We both loved Invincible. I mean, that was a good Amazon show, but that's one show. That's an original show to them. I mean, it's based on something. But
making the difference here because it's like Amazon either like strikes out pretty hard, or like they make something very good. So what's their involvement? I would like to know what their involvement was, like the leaders or whatever of their media to this show compared to Invincible. Like, did they think Invincible was just like, we bought that for $5 million and just do whatever you want, or they in there telling Invincible like, no, you can't do this, or you can't do this, or you think they just let them go?
I don't. It's they probably let them do. They probably let them do what they want because like remember last week with Stuart. Lower Decks is the only really good new Star Trek show, and it's because the people involved who are wanting to make these shows trash aren't as involved because it's animated. Like Alex Kurtzman feels like he's not, because if he was, the show would be terrible. If he was,
so let's make more things animated, because it seems like animation right now seems to be where it's at.
Animation is where like the creative people get to be creative and like tell a good story, and then
I just wish it was more accepted. I wish more people were like, it's animated. Man, I've talked about this before. Once it's animated, people don't want to watch it because that's for kids. It's another animated show. It's like, that's where the good stuff is.
Why not just, make live action stuff not trash? There's a thought.
Because more people are going to watch live action. So you need to appease everybody.
But in trying to appease everyone, you appease no one. Because
well, they didn't even learn that lesson yet.
I haven't seen like good reviews for this for this show.
Yeah, I haven't looked at anything. I think the best reviews you're going to find here are going to say, it was okay.
Amazon,
I think that's the best reviews you're gonna find from anybody is, it was okay.
Amazon like actively deleted negative reviews. They postponed people being able to make any kind of reviews for the show. Like, it is bizarre.
Well, I think it. I don't want to delete reviews, but I do think a lot of reviews at the start were maybe not a lot. I don't know a percentage. I don't have a percentage, but I do think just because this wasn't Lord of the Rings from 2001, people are just gonna say it's bad. And didn't even give the show a shot. Because I remember, though I only got, this is my only frame of reference from this, is before season, or that first episode was out, it wasn't even out long enough to finish it, and somebody gave it a 1 star. Like, okay, like that guy's like, you gotta kind of discredit some of them, because there are some people that were just like, I didn't even watch the episode yet, it's bad. The whole season's bad. Yeah, I mean, so that, I'm sure that does happen. It happens all the time.
But were they wrong?
Oh no, but like that, obviously that's not fair. I don't want anything. I'm not going to base my reviews off that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I like to watch something or play a game before I
want to make my own review. I don't want to just. I'm never going to watch 5 seconds of a movie, get up, walk away, and say 1 star. I want to watch and form my own opinion for it. I'm never going to be that guy that's just going to. This isn't made by Peter Jackson. Bad.
Yeah. Well,
whatever.
The thing is, this show is so bad, it's making the Hobbit trilogy look way more watchable.
Well, the Hobbit trilogy was also not really that great. It wasn't. I mean, the Hobbit trilogy was not like, it wasn't like bottom tier garbage trash. It was fine. I thought it was fine. It was okay. I would watch it again.
It wasn't as good as Lord of the Rings.
No, nothing's gonna be as good as Lord of the Rings though. Like there's like, that's just not that. It was like a golden goose, man. That doesn't exist. That kind of stuff is rare and almost never happens.
Yeah,
it just worked.
Like
all the planetary alignments happened to make those.
I gave that movie a 10, I believe. Yeah, I think we both gave it. We both gave it a 10. This show gets a 2. This is how far it's fallen.
Yeah. So there's not much to say, much more than what we already have. I would say, if you got nothing else to watch, I don't know, and you like fantasy, sure, go for it. Actually, no, you know what? No, I'm gonna stick to what you said.
Lord of the Rings
don't watch it. Don't watch
this
because the more people that watch this, the more they're going to be encouraged to make more. And obviously, Amazon has demonstrated twice now with fantasy shows they don't know how to make it. They're looking for a Game of Thrones. They just can't find it. HBO is better, I think, at making shows just in general. I think most HBO stuff is kind of solid. So stick with House of the Dragon. I've heard good things. David's watched it. You like it. So obviously it can't be that bad. So stick with HBO. I would abandon. I honestly don't watch this if you haven't watched it yet, because it's not. It's not. I don't think it's worth it, man. You're gonna add fuel to the fire, and Amazon's gonna keep going. And we're gonna get more bad stuff.
Well, Amazon pulled a really bad stunt with the final episode. A lot of people experienced an ad, which made them click off and then back onto the show, which counts as a second click. And for me personally, they were downscaling the episode so bad it was unwatchable, the finale.
Was it to boost their numbers?
It was to boost their numbers. Like they were like they were throttling the throughput, at least for me. And it was unwatchable. I had to stop it and play it a couple times, and it boosted.
Did you watch it when it was first airing?
I did.
Okay. Yeah, for me, I just watched it this week, so I'm not
So-
super far behind, but I didn't have any trouble. Probably because there's no traffic to it.
Yeah, it's no trouble, but it was getting throttled for me, and it was like, I don't know. I get the part where she pulls out the sword to put in, her knife to put at Sauron's throat. I couldn't see anything. I could hear it, so I knew that was basically what was happening, but I couldn't
Okay.
see it. Like I heard
gotcha.
shrink, and then I heard like dialogue, so I figured she was holding it at his neck, but I couldn't see it. I rewatched the scene later, but like they did some weird stuff to try to inflate the numbers for that finale.
We're doing what that can.
Shady.
We're doing what that can.
It was shady.
So I guess let's hope House of the Dragon. I haven't watched it yet. I'm pretty sure just based on the very minimal House of the Dragon talk that we have is really our House of the Dragon talk was, hey, should we do House of the Dragon? And then you said, yeah, it's not bad. And that's like as far as we've gone with our House of the Dragon talk. So hopefully, I haven't watched it. Well, hopefully it's good, and we'll have a higher score next time.
Well, the thing is, we try not to talk about stuff that we're gonna talk about on the show.
We
each
don't
other.
talk. We don't.
So,
We really don't talk about stuff. We'll make
so-
memes about it before we actually talk. Well, we've sent each other memes about stuff before we've actually podcasted on it, but we don't dive into that.
yeah, we want it to be fresh for this show, so we try not to
Yes.
talk about much anything except for just very cursory things. So I'm like, yes, House of Dragon, good. Please watch. So,
Yeah, that's pretty much that's where we're at right now. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
watch that. So look forward to our next podcast, which is going to be House of the Dragon, and then we can
House of the
complain.
Dragon and
Where
a
I
little
know where I know that conversation will be at some point, and I'm saying it now. So anybody who's listening, you're gonna hear a mirror of this in House of the Dragon is that George R. R. Tolkien, or not George R. R. Tolkien, George R. R. Martin is taking too long to finish his next book.
Yes, and
We will bring that up, I'm sure.
and we'll have some at least early impressions of God of War Ragnarok for next time as well.
Yes, yes. So yeah, don't watch the show if you watched it. If you watched it, I'm sorry. Maybe season 2 will be better. Good luck.
Good.
Bye bye.
Some Elven word. What is the thing Elrond tells Durin?
Oh God, I don't know.
Elduin or something like that. I don't know.
Sure, why not? Let's make up stuff.
Say friend and enter. Meldon.
Email
Until
David at
next-
synthaholics@yahoo.com.
Until next time. Have a good one.